We're now going into a seminar session, and it's led by my friend Tafi Makamure, who's a senior solutions engineer with Ermetic. And he's going to run the seminar, and he'll hand over to Abnormal at the end of his session, who will run the session up to lunch. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Tafi. The floor is yours, Tafi. Take it away.
Thank you so much, and what a great introduction. Before I start, I have been advised to ask everyone when they're leaving the room to leave via that exit so that the organizers can collect your details and know who's attended the session. Thank you. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about security through maturity and talk to you about our maturity model that we use within ermetic to help organizations accelerate their cloud security journey. A little bit about myself. My name is Tafi Makamure. I am a senior cloud engineer with them. I've worked at Azure, I've worked at AWS, helping a lot of organizations on their journey of the cloud adoption. And I can say I have seen quite a lot of fun, interesting, exciting, dirty, and nasty things as well. So we're going to be adding some of that knowledge to this to help you guys accelerate your journey and help you get to the next stage. So let's start by looking at some of the cloud infrastructure security challenges. We all know it's not a one-size-fits-all practice. Organizations have different ways in which they are adopting the cloud. Some organizations are doing a lift and shift. Some organizations are building cloud-native applications, et cetera, and of course, there are many challenges which come about with being able to looking at the different journeys that you are going along. It is multidimensional and complex. There are a ton of different services which are being launched by the different cloud providers. Like I was looking at AWS a couple of weeks ago. They had 312 services. I looked at them today. They have 316 services. All of those services have permissions which need to be managed. They have their own resources which are being built. And of course, these are being immediately exposed to the consumers who are yourselves. We know that the environments are extremely dynamic. So we all know environments within the cloud are ephemeral. What you may have this hour may not be available in the next 30 minutes, right? So we all know the environments are dynamics. And again, what wasn't there 10 minutes ago, you may have 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 of that over the next hour or next few minutes. And of course, it does require very specific knowledge. Now, we all know the cloud is fairly relatively new in terms of technology. And of course, getting the skill set or getting people with the skills that actually understand the cloud and then understand the security implications of decisions that are made when configurations is extremely difficult. And of course, many people are involved. When we talk about many people, we're talking about from the developers all the way through to the security folks, all the way through to folks who are product owners, et cetera. It is highly collaborative. And when it comes to security, it is not something that just falls upon one role or one specific department, right? So there are quite a lot of challenges. Growth has to be guided and it has to be synchronized. If it isn't, it is a recipe for disaster. Something that is quite evident is that it cannot be achieved in a single bound. Cloud security isn't something that you just turn up and say, well, we've got these milestones we need to hit, X, Y, Z, it's all done, we're now securing the cloud, everybody jog on, and as long as there's this specific governance and compliance document, which we've got safely put in our safe, and everybody reads every 6 months to a year, it's done. that is not the case at all. It is not something that is done in a single bound. You have to do it iteratively, and you have to do it continuously. Now, within the industry, there are quite a lot of bodies of work which have been put together to enable organizations to be able to demonstrate that they do have the right processes and they are doing the right things when it comes to cloud security. This is an example of one, which is the Cloud Security Alliance Enterprise Architecture Reference Diagram. I'm sure, as you can see, there are tons of different domains which are within there, and tons of different activities that you could go and do. The challenge with this is it is quite a big diagram. There are a lot of domains, and it is a mammoth task to actually go and do. One of the key things that organizations are adopting the cloud for is speed of execution, so that they are able to deliver high-quality products to their customers in a fairly fast manner. Now, of course, if you are looking to then help the developers and the rest of the organization move fast, you can't be sitting there spending 6 to 8 to 12 months going through such bodies of work to demonstrate that you do have good cloud security practices and to also implement them. Right? So we felt that there is a missing piece of the puzzle, and this is based off the research we've done with hundreds of companies with whom we help improve and mature their cloud security posture. Introducing the cloud infrastructure security model, which is a lightweight, approachable, and effective way in which to mature your cloud security within your organization. Now, the way that we've broken this down is we've broken it down into 2 specific domains around organization and technology. From an organization perspective, we've taken a look at the people. So what sort of people enablement is required, what sort of skills and what sort of training is required to get people over the line. You've also looked at the processes as well. So what are the processes that need to be put in place to support your folks as they go along this journey and as they mature their cloud security. We've also looked from a technology perspective, where we looked at visibility. So, as the saying goes, you can't secure what you can't see. So being able to have tooling that demonstrate visibility of the resources that are running is particularly important. Looking at prevention, and looking as well at detection as well. So what policies have been put in place to help prevent? What guardrails do you have? And of course, should there be any sort of breach or any indication of compromise, what do you need to be able to help you detect that? So we've got a number of different levels which we have within our framework. The first one is the ad hoc level. And organizations that are operating at the ad hoc level typically look at security as an afterthought, right? It's typically a security incident happens if they happen to have looked at it and then to go on and go and do remediation. There's no proper structure, there's no proper process, and typically it's found with organizations who are just dipping their toes into the cloud. I'm sure most of you have possibly come across and be told by someone senior, hey, just go implement that cloud stuff and come back to us in 6 weeks and tell us how things are working. Or from the security side, which a lot of you guys are security professionals, somebody just turns up and says, hey, we've got something in the cloud, we need security to take a look at it. Like, we've got an incident that we think has happened. The second is opportunistic. So there is some sort of structure which has been put in place to manage the cloud security. However, it's not something that's repeatable. If asked to go ahead and do it again, most organizations won't be able to do so. The next is repeatable, where there is some sort of repeatable process that has been put in place. If you are to acquire new organizations through M&A, or perhaps you have a new project that comes about that requires access to cloud services, there is a repeatable body of work which can be executed, and there are people who are specifically been put together as part of a cloud security team specifically to tackle those cloud issues. And then the last that we see are those who reach the stage of automated and integrated. And when we're talking about automated and integrated, this means that it is automated and integrated together with the R&D teams. So everyone from the dev teams, they're all part of the security process. Operations teams, all part of the security process, and everyone takes ownership of that. It is no longer just the security folks coming in and doing audits and work, but it's actually being integrated in the product development of the products which are being delivered by the organization. So what we've done is just to show you an example of how we have it structured. As you can see, we have some parameters which fall within the different categories that we have, and these fall along the left-hand side. And then we have the maturity level. Now, what we've done is this is an example of a matrix that you would have as part of that security model. Don't worry, I know the slides are a little bit blurred out. That's simply so that people don't focus on the actual wording itself, and I will give you some examples of that. But what this demonstrates, I know you can't really read it, but there's not a lot of text that's within these specific parameters, right? And part of that is, unlike the other document which you saw before, which has got multiple domains and tons of work to do, what we've done is we've looked at the organizations and picked out what we call indicators of matriculations. And what those are specific capabilities or abilities that that organization is showcasing or has, which then demonstrates that they have moved over to the next level or matriculated to the next level of maturity. Right. Now, why is this? Well, by demonstrating that level, that particular capability, what that does is it's not just about that specific ability itself. It's all about all the ancillary capabilities that come alongside with it, which then showcase your maturity of that, the maturity of that particular parameter. It's like going to the moon, right? Like in the 60s, John F. Kennedy put together a flag in the ground, a stake, and he said, look, man is going to the moon, right? At that time, we didn't have the technologies, the culture of the culture was just the processes, the technology, the culture that was at the time just did not support that. However, by delivering that ability, it then brought us a lot of different benefits across the way, some of which we are using within everyday technology that we use today. So, we'll look under the hood, and I'll show you some examples. Looking under the people domain, we'll look at roles, responsibilities, and training. So we can see within the ad hoc phase, we generally would find organizations that have no dedicated personnel for cloud infrastructure, and there's no dedicated training in place, right? And I see a few faces smiling in here, so I think a few guys have noticed that within that particular domain, perhaps they may be sat within there. But these are typically organizations that are dipping their toe into the cloud and looking to expand. The next is opportunistic, and what we generally tend to find within here is that there are some members of the security teams that have undergone some training, and there is some knowledge and some responsibility that's being added. We then go to the repeatable, when you then have dedicated person or team with the relevant experience and training and expertise. And there is certification that gets embedded as part of the job roles and job descriptions. There's a much more defined job description for the people who are doing that. And then from auto to the automated and integrated, effectively what happens is security is then delegated to all members of research and development, right? And there's a cloud and security readiness or awareness training which is given to the different team members. And it doesn't fall to security alone to remediate any security findings. Because it is automated, it is actually integrated within the development process, and security is then fully embedded within from the start of the development all the way through the entire life cycle of your projects. We'll take a look at another example, which is around remediation as well, where, again, we'll find that from a remediation perspective, typically, best effort, no structured process. It moves on to the security team owning and prioritizing those findings, having those prioritized findings being automatically shared with different stakeholders. And then, of course, again, when we look at the automated and integrated, full ownership goes to the R&D teams. It is not security happening to the R&D teams, but it's security being performed by those R&D teams. And interestingly enough, when you juxtapose those particular processes alongside with what we have from the people side, we can then see that those map out quite well, right, according to that specific map up quite well with the remediation task as well. So what we find is typically when you make strides within one specific pillar and within one specific parameter, some of those changes actually then spread out, right, to some of the other parameters and some of the other parameters of the different sections that we look at. Okay, and again, similarly from a process perspective, when you start moving in and doing things such as integration to the CI/CD pipeline, having proper governance for change management, etc., 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 etc. Moving on to compliance, accident governance, and incidents and response. So the last example I will be giving is around visibility. And I chose this specifically because for a lot of organizations, gaining visibility of what's within the cloud is one of the biggest challenges that they have. The majority of organizations that we have come across tend to use the console or go in manually, or if they have moved on a bit, use scripts. And then, of course, you then have the automated and integrated are the ones who have tools that automatically are looking at the inventory and regularly scanning and looking at changes that are there within the environment, right? So particularly important. When it comes to the prevention side, this is an area where we find there's a lot of activity which needs to happen, and it's around identity management. A lot of organizations, when moving into the cloud, tend to take a look at security within the cloud through the same lens as they do on a on-prem basis, which is around the security boundary being the firewall. Whereas when you're within the cloud, the security boundary has changed. It is around the identity. That's where the security boundary is. And it's from the identity where we then start to layer in additional security and look at what the security posture is. So there's a lot which needs to happen around the managing of the identity, around the managing of entitlements as well. So what can those identities access and what permissions do they have over different resources? Again, looking at data around public exposure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the whole point of this is to show you that they are different, we do have different matriculation indicators, matriculation indicators, and by attaining those specific capabilities, you then mature your organization through that, and you can rapidly move on to securing your cloud organizations. So the key thing around, or the key takeaway around it is, what does the cloud security maturity framework do? It syncs your efforts in an effective manner. We've seen how we were able to layer in what was happening within the technology peer alongside with the people category. It helps design reachable, practical, and clear milestones, right? So you don't have this big body of work that you're having to go through. You have specific abilities or capabilities that you are aiming to achieve to help you mature and reach the next stage that you're looking to get to. And then, of course, the most important thing is it provides a collaborative language between different stakeholders. I cannot iterate this fact enough, but as you move to the cloud and as you continue to expand your footprint within there, having that collaborative language, having those cross-functional teams is essential in you fully benefiting from all the benefits that the cloud provides. And of course, having that collaborative language really helps accelerate where you are from a security posture. It's not a massive step-by-step document, and yet it's lightweight and it's approachable, right? So next question is, how do you operationalize the model? First thing to do is to assess and to see where you stand within those different categories and against the different pillars. The next thing to do is to set milestones and build a roadmap of what you want to achieve and when you want to achieve it. And lastly, evaluate solutions to help alleviate the challenges. You will appreciate, especially within the cloud space, there is a lot of work which is happening around the security. There are a lot of tools which are out there. The truth is, it's not a one tool will fix all challenge. So it is something that you will need to do iteratively to look at the tooling that's available to you and what you are able to then accomplish from a capability perspective with those specific tools to help alleviate those challenges. And of course, you rinse and repeat. It is not a one, you don't just do it once and then you forget about it. It's something that has to continuously happen, and you need to continuously repeat on it. A couple of things to remember. Again, cybersecurity is a process. It is not an event. And of course, maturity is a commitment and not a certification. So all your teams have to be committed and they have to be bought in to fully benefit and to fully move forward your organization's security posture. Simple does not necessarily mean easy, right? So there are a lot of challenges which come about with it. Education, learning new processes, getting access to new tools, evaluating, et cetera. However, the good thing is, at the end of it, you end up actually moving a lot faster and doing a lot more than you would do with traditional on-prem infrastructure, and it's a really, really exciting space to be in. So, from our perspective, in terms of Ermetic, we provide a cloud security posture management tool and a cloud infrastructure entitlement management tool as well, combined in one. As you can see on the right-hand side, we've covered the majority of the use cases that are within that cloud maturity model, and effectively, within one tool, enable you to cover a whole swathe of those, or a whole swathe of what you find within that maturity model. What does that mean for you, and what does it mean for your organization? Well, it means that it helps you accelerate what you guys are doing within the cloud, and helps you quickly get to the point where you are mature from a security posture perspective. We give deep visibility of your assets. So we cover AWS, GCP, and Azure, and we give you a full list of the inventory of everything that you are running. We give you visualization of the permissions. As you can see within this example, we can clearly see where a specific role has got access to different resources within the cloud environment. And we also showcase where there are over-provisioned permissions within there that you may want to cut back in order to give least privileged access. Not only do we show you that, but we even demonstrate and show you the policies that you currently have and policies that we recommend you implement in order to get to the point where there is least privilege. And we send these findings to whoever you need to be able to make the change. What does that mean for you? It means that as a security professional, your time isn't spent just focusing on trying to lock down those policies, but actually those get routed to the research and development teams, and they can quickly go out and resolve those security issues. There's security posture findings, which are all contextualized, and we give you, and we list them by criticality. There's an activity log, which gives you the ability to go in and do investigation. There's advanced capabilities such as anomaly detection. We give you full network visualization, and of course, we give you access to governance and compliance. So you guys can actually see how your cloud environments are against popular governance and compliance standards, which we are constantly adding to. So effectively, ermetic helps you accelerate that process and helps you mature your cloud security fairly quick. From my side, we do have a white paper that's available on our website, so feel free to download that. We also have an online questionnaire which you can go to and see where your cloud maturity lands. It is anonymized, so we don't know who's come in, but of course you can see and you can measure where you guys are. And then finally, you can reach out to me for a personalized assessment, and we can go through where your organization currently stands, and help you guys to accelerate your maturity journey. Thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen, and I look forward to meeting you over at the stand.